I can run get it.
So,
No,
what do you?
no, let's call the meeting to order. It's 2 minutes after 6 on February 3rd. Before we start, Bill neglected to bring the only one update. How do you want to proceed? Do you want to send somebody to get it?
Kim will
Or do you
go
want
get
to,
it.
or do you want to put it off to the next meeting?
Kim will go get
I
it.
can go get it.
Kim says she'll go get it.
Okay.
Bill, do you want the key? I can bring
Is that going to happen, or?
it. Yeah, I will go get it.
Okay. All right. Okay, so, we need a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay. What?
Can I add something to the agenda that didn't get put on here?
Okay.
I was going to ask, get permission to use some of the sewer study line item for making copies of maps that were done by our group in the past. So, and it didn't get on the agenda.
So what do you want to put on here?
Monies to copy maps for the water, wastewater study committee.
So can we put that as between 8 and 9, between 9 and 10? Or 8 and 9, I mean?
Yeah, that's fine. I'll be
All right,
back
so-
for then, maybe.
Okay. Okay, so that, I guess we need a vote to approve the minutes as amended.
I'll make a motion, second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, all right. We don't have the minutes of the 20th, so we'll do them next time, unfortunately.
We don't?
No, Bill forgot them. He brought the 6th instead of the,
I'm batting 1,000 so far.
yeah, so,
They're posted on.
But aren't they the 20th, although they're dated the 6th?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Because on
Yeah.
this, it says you approved the minutes of January 6th on this meeting, on this
Oh,
minute.
but I got changed from top.
And
No,
online it says.
Oh, okay, so we
same.
do have the minutes.
Okay.
So Bill, can you distribute the minutes back again?
Yes.
You took for this?
I have 3 corrections.
We'll just wait for Bill to get it.
Yep.
Oh.
I know you have them, Bill, because you gave them to us.
Sorry, it's all on tape, though. Let me turn it off for a second.
Okay.
Okay, the first correction is the date at the top.
First correction is
So it's really Monday, January 20th, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have any other, we need, I guess,
Well, I've got 2 other
yeah,
corrections.
okay.
On paragraph 5, second sentence down, it said Richard J. Thompson, Tao, health officer. I'm not sure it should be, or Toe, health
Town.
officer.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And under paragraph 9, it says green harbors, that should be clean harbors, last
Yep.
sentence.
Mhm.
I guess that's what I got.
Do we have any other additions or corrections? Alan? Usually, I'm sorry.
I had his name wrong about 3 times, I changed it.
On number 10, the last bullet, need to capitalize Welch.
Okay.
I
Okay.
saw that, I think it was spelled right, so.
Do we have any other? If not, I need a motion to accept the minutes as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Al seconds it. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, everybody, it's okay. Warrants were signed by everybody. That was done. So I guess we'll move right into the highway report. Danny, you wanna discuss the culvert first, I guess?
Phil on Heaton Brook is one that we get the state money for, the 110. But we won't know on the other grant for that until like April or May. I think Bill was just wondering about putting that out to bid now so we can get it done this coming season. Either way, we have to use that 110 this coming season, so either it's gonna have to come out of capital budget if we don't get the, Better Back Roads grant match with it, or
What's the total cost of that?
175
$175.
is, that's estimate.
Yeah.
There's no downside to bid it up now, is it?
no, I would bid it now
I
so
mean-
you can get on the work schedule.
I'd like Artie to address that if you
Okay.
could.
I got it in the capital budget, got 110 coming, nothing there, and we put enough money in to cover almost all of the 175. So I would say we bid it, because that was the plan.
Yeah. So I mean, there's no downside.
Yep.
I don't see it.
I'll make that motion that
Okay.
we bid.
Wait a minute, I just didn't understand. So even without anything from V-Trans, we have money in capital budget, is that what you're saying?
Mhm.
Yes, we planned for this.
Okay.
Okay, so Stan made a motion. Do we have a second? Second. Any other discussion, any further discussion on the COVID issue? Okay, so all in favor of having Danny bid out the culvert on Hinkley Brook number 8, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Let's go to the excessive weight permit thing.
You have 3, and I put in, yeah, there's, 2 of them put together, and then there's a single one. Right.
Does that include the new ones for the logging?
Yes, it does. That's town. And then I want, besides approving them, I want you to authorize me to sign them. So it is, it's Velco, Newport Sand and Gravel, which is also Carroll Concrete. And then for the logging, it is Townhouse Trucking, TOWNE, Townhouse, it's Jody Town of Townhouse Trucking over there. And I don't have his, and the money for all of them, I don't have this insurance certificate for him, but it is, it will be sent. They're gonna make sure it's sent. And he won't be hauling across the bridge for a little while, and then
Here you go.
Is everybody satisfied with that? Do we need a motion to have you sign the bill, or?
yes, I need a motion for you to approve them, and then to allow me to sign them. I make that motion.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Chris, second. Any further discussion? So all in favor of the weight, of approving the weight permits and having Bill sign, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. I guess we'll go right into the V-Trans town map discussion.
You got the cat?
Yeah, but, oh, yeah, the cat, where the hell is that?
First one.
First.
First bullet under
Yeah,
highway.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I don't have it on my agenda, that's why, 'cause this is, must have been updated again. That's why.
That isn't my fault.
I know, I printed out 4 of them, so I guess it's, all right, so let's do that. So let's do the cat one then. As I understand it, talking to Bill, the lease, you can't change it, you can't amend it, you can't do anything. And so we need a motion to suspend reading the whole thing. So the only thing that we need to do is have a motion on who's gonna sign it, whether it be Bill or myself. And approve it.
I want to be really clear on that motion. I want you to move that page that has the whereof, or wherefore, to the end. Whereas the laws of the state of Vermont all that little print and resolve, and that you're naming me as town administrator to sign the documents. And then Kim will state that that this motion, as it is written right here, was adopted by you at this meeting. So I want to be clear, that's what I need from you, because that's what CAP wants from us. They need to make sure that you've agreed to this purchase. You've already agreed to the purchase in September 2nd meeting, but it didn't have all these details. And so this is what they want. And I just want to tell you a little bit about the contract, so that you can have a little bit of understanding about it. It is $23,197 per year for, so the first payment is this year, and then 4 more payments at the end. I'm sorry, 5 payments, and then there's a payment of $1. When you pay the $1, it's ours. Those payments add up to not 107, but they add up to like 115, because there is 3.87% interest on that the whole time it's going through. If at any time you are stating in the contract that you can't intend to stay in business for more than the length of this contract, and actually to use it and pay for it, but that if something were to happen and you go out of business, then you can terminate this lease, provided you give them 60 days written notice and return it to them. They will then, the rest of the lease is forgiven, but you have to do it on the anniversary date, not the 60 days has to be 60 days before the anniversary date. The anniversary date will be today. Okay, and it's paid every year on this date without them billing you. I'm sure they're gonna remind us, but they say they're not, okay? And so, that's it, what else? You're gonna keep it insured, and you if somebody uses their tractor to run over somebody, Caterpillar's not responsible. Okay, we're insured for it. And, we can't transfer it to anybody else. Okay, I think that's about the highlights of the small print on those other 4 pages ahead of this page.
So is it currently under our insurance? Has it been insured?
Yes.
It is here, so.
As of the 8th of January. I have that certificate from Kim over that.
Do you have the increase of that insurance on this?
Pardon me?
Will we have an increase on the insurance?
I have no idea how the insurance works. Lots of times with the insurance, it probably doesn't. I don't know, Kim would know.
Insured through CAT or insured through VLCT?
It's passive.
Yeah, VLCT.
It's passive on our insurance policy, and that's why I'm wondering, it may, or may, they may not itemize it. You need to have an itemization, but I don't know that they charge you by the number
Probably
of
have an
stuff.
umbrella.
I don't.
I'm sure it's umbrella.
I'll make a motion that we authorize Bill to sign the document and follow the stipulations he read to us.
Okay, no, you've got to adopt all the words on that page as your motion.
So it's not the whereas, correct?
Whereas, all the way through the bottom.
Yeah. So just amend it so you did not, starting at whereas through the bottom of language.
Oh, all right.
You don't need to read the whole thing, but.
Right. Attachment B, starting at whereas.
And then Bill Kearns has the authority to sign for it?
Correct.
No, in the middle there, where it says who is going to sign for it, it'll be William G. Kearns, Town Administrator.
Right.
Okay.
Do we have a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Do we have any other discussion on the lease other than what was proposed? If not, all in favor say aye.
Hi.
Opposed? Okay. All right, this is,
There's a truck.
so, I see Kim signed it already, Bill, and copied mine, is that, so she'll have her sign it again, is that right?
Ask him.
Yeah, I will.
Kim, was a question on the insurance, because we insuring a second piece, another piece of equipment, is there an additional cost, or is it going to a blanket?
Oh, we'll probably get an additional cost sent to us, or an addition,
Okay.
but it's already on the policy. I put it on the policy already.
This is the listing on the policy. And it's, January 8th through, 1/1/2021.
And Kat will get a copy of that with his contract, I'm assuming.
It's required to be sent with.
All right, so let's finish up the truck bid, and then we can get on to the road, so, who has that? Chris, you wanna open it up?
Now, I sent bids to 4 companies, and this is the only one we got back from, R.R. Charlevoix. Is that the name, R.R. Charlevoix out of Northern Vermont? They sent a refusal bid. They think this, but they didn't want to bid, they're too far away. And, the other two companies did not answer.
So everybody knows, this is the replacement of the little Freightliner truck that they use, we have to have because we can't get over the Kingston Bridge. So, it's cost us, what, Danny, we're about $7,000 so far, I think, already, just in repairs?
This winter, right now, it's almost 9.
Yeah.
They had a cooler line that they had to do this last time around, that hooks to the radiator, which is plastic, and getting it fitting out, they broke the radiator, so they put a radiator in it. The exhaust was all warranted, that was $4,000, that was warranted. And then we had some ABS problems with it that they worked on.
Last year we had problems too.
Yeah, yep.
We tried to buy a truck earlier, but there's just nothing available.
Should there be at any time start considering to do a 5-year program on those trucks rather than 7? What does that do to the?
I've asked for that to be looked into for many years.
I think it's something the capital budget maybe needs to take a look at next year.
Because what happens to your trade-in from the 5-year to a 7-year?
It drops.
Well, I know, but is it substantial?
Yeah, yeah, because if you go with a 5-year, you have 2 to 3 years of some warranty left, so it brings the value up. So when we trade them, actually that Freightliner, the warranty is off at 5 years. That's the longest you could buy at that time. So if you can sell it at 5 years with 3 years of warranty, it really, whoever's buying it covers all your major components, most of them. This was a Cummins in this little truck, which 5 years was a max. The truck that is supposed to be bid is supposed to be a Detroit engine, which is supposed to be warranted 7.
So this is the 7th year of that
Yes.
truck.
Yeah.
What do you imagine we put in it for the 2 years, from 5 to 7, to keep it on the road?
Probably around 15,000 in 2 years. Anyway, last year was the EGR cooler, which was not warranted. I think that was like 3,500 for that. They get $130 an hour down there to work on, so it adds up fast.
Have we gotten the warranty packages in the past?
We try to buy what the maximum they offer.
Okay.
And it's always, you take the salesman's word on what it is. So, and it's supposed to be all in this there too, of the options.
Right.
But I actually wanna take, I don't want you to decide on this tonight, no matter what it is, because I wanna go down to the service department and ask them what the warranty is. It seems to be 2 different things that you find out, one from the salesman and one from the warranty office, and I wanna make sure that they are offering the max you can get on that truck. Cause we found out that the 2018 or 19, the last 10-wheeler we bought, that there was a better package you could have bought, but after 6 months, you can't help it. And we just found out with some of the work we done to that we didn't have the best warranty from them at that time.
Just to back up a little on, we talk about warranty, what about the cat warranty?
on the excavator, that was 7-year warranty, and I think it was 7 years that they service it too for that price. So they do all the oil changes and everything for the 7 years. I think it's based on 2 a year, and the warranty for just 7 years on all, except for what they call wear items.
So can you explain again the maintenance that was just done, because I know we signed the warrants for them. What did you say about the radiator?
The cooler lines for the automatic hook into the bottom of it. It's a plastic radiator, most all the ones are now. When they tried to take the line out of it, they broke the plastic, because it's a steel line that goes into the plastic radiator. So we had to put a new radiator in it.
So is that their cost or our cost?
Our cost, we're hiring them to work on it.
But they broke it.
When you take your car to someone to have it worked on and they break a lug nut, you pay to have it fixed. It's no different.
I don't think that's fair.
Might not be, it's the way it is.
They have the product, so they can dictate costs.
All right, Chris, you wanna read the bid?
Bid from ATG Patriot to the town of Grafton. Thank you for allowing ATG Patriot the opportunity to provide you with a proposal on a 2021 Freightliner M2106 cab and chassis. Price is as follows. For the 2021 Freightliner, single action proposed price $99,000, $99,119. For the Viking Civi body equipment package, an additional $71,900 for a total sales price of $171,019. There will be an allowance for a trade-in for the 2013 Freightliner of $25,000, which will bring the net down to a total for the chassis and the body equipment package of $146,019. There is the option for a warranty package, engine, truck coverage, axles, towing, the total warranty package would be $8,155 for the full warranty, extended warranty package. So that would be $8,155 in addition to the net sales price of $146,000.
Is there a delivery time?
I don't see that specified.
Just curious.
The quote is valid until August 25th of this year.
Dan, do you know what did they ever tell you, do you know what the delivery times are?
Well, it's gonna really depend on the body company. That'd be, if you approved it today, it could be a year out before you see the truck.
In the past, when we've gotten a bid, we've asked Danny to review it.
Oh, yeah,
And
no,
make a recommendation to us, at the next meeting. And that would be my,
oh, yeah, no, it needs to be reviewed by Danny. Any other questions on the truck or the bids? Want to move on? Okay. All right, so now I guess we'll hit the road here. Bill, do you want to start on the road situation or explain what's got to happen or?
Yeah, let me put,
Before we go, Danny, do you have any other things you want to talk about?
No, we're just gonna be, we got some co-patch in the last week, so we can patch some of the blacktop up. We've been cutting brush, started up on Fire Pond, gonna finish up that road. Looks like we might have some weather toward the end of the week. Deal with it.
Okay, Bill, go ahead. Does everybody have all the information, the packet? Yes.
discussion started when I heard last people talking about someone was putting a gate somewhere in this area on this road, and they wanted to know how could they put it in there if it's a public road. And it's interfering with the Bass Trail. You know, I'm not being really exact on this, you guys can correct me later if I can get it straight, but I'm just gonna give the general what's happened. So I went back to the maps. This is taken from their old ancient road maps. Now, none of these are ancient roads. To be an ancient road, and everybody gets this confused, to be an ancient road, it has to not ever have been a road, but laid out by the select board. See, yes, we want it there, and then it was never put in. So you don't see any rocks, you don't see any trail, you don't see nothing. It's just woods. And obviously, never any road there. Okay, that's an ancient road. Ancient roads went away 4 or 5 years ago. If you didn't claim them 4 or 5 years ago, you were done. Okay? These roads have always been there, I am told, and I asked Rooney to come tonight because he knows the roads, and probably you probably know them, and a lot of other people in this room probably know those roads too. These roads, I'm told, actually exist from just short of the driveway into Jackie's house. This road goes up, and then comes across and ends approximately here. This road goes from Hall Ranch Road and from about where Hall lived to the intersection. This is according to the description. And this one went from Hall Ranch Road down to somebody's barn. The distances on them are, in rods, are almost exactly right. This is almost 2,000, this is about 1,200, and this is, well, it's easier to give in miles, it's a 0.73 miles, this down here. And that is adding up each one of these segments here, but, and the same with these from the descriptions. You will find this description in Book of Layouts number 30. You'll find this description in Book 2A at that page, 279 or something like that. And then this is Book of Layouts 23, 1780. Now this one, this Book of Layouts of 1780, this road starts at the Rockingham Town Forest, and I can show you the map, I have another map here, I can show that to you. Goes all the way through here, goes back all the way through town, comes back up Fisher Hill Road and ends on Fisher Hill Road at the quotes Grafton northern town line. So I don't know how, but that's what the map says. So anyway, but that's not what we're interested in. All I'm interested in here is that it takes off from here.
But it's from
It
here.
goes from here. This is Otis Road as it comes in from Chester Road. This is Otis Road. This is where Jackie's driveway is. It takes off before it, goes up, comes across, meets these roads that are on the ground at this intersection. Then this road starts at Hall Ranch Road, comes down in a curve, goes to that intersection, and this road comes down from Hall Ranch to there. And they are described in those places that I told you. In order to, now, you'll notice on this map, just as an aside, I'm not talking about them tonight, you know, is this road here, all these roads here? This is the rest of Otis Road. This is on our town map out to about there. Why these roads were on here and why I can't find a description in the book of layouts or in the town records, I don't know. I can't answer that, and Rooney might be able to answer that, but I can't answer it. And we may be able to put them back on the road, but I'm gonna have to find the description. If we wanted to put them back on the map, but I have to find a description because V-Trans will not accept it if I can't find the actual layout approved by the select board. Doesn't matter what you find on De Beers, doesn't matter if you find on all these maps, you can find 1,000 years of maps. If you can't find a layout, it doesn't exist. We do know these haven't been thrown up. So what I told the people that were interested in this, is that I would do is set this up so that if the select board wants to put him back on the maps, I would have enough information. They tell me what roads they want me to tell V-Trans put back on the maps, and I can put them back on the maps. One thing, and I don't have a dog in this fight, this road, and I have another picture I can show you. This road goes right through the middle of somebody's property. If no one cares about that road, you just might say, we don't care about that road, and we don't put it back on the map. Because Mr. Logan might not be happy, I don't know, he isn't here. Everybody whose name is on this other map, I'll show you, have all been written a letter. Everybody got a letter about what's happening tonight. And I have heard from nobody. Okay, except for the people in town. A lot of the vast people got it by email, but those people I wrote who are out of state, which included the Ellsworth, the people that own this property down here, which is Allbrook, which is Ellsworth's property, and Logan and Johnstone,
Bill.
and all the people, none of the people.
It's not Logan, it's me.
You,
I'm number 2.
but who owns it over here?
I don't know who owns it there, but I have the
This
number.
name is still on it.
Is it?
It's Jacob. Jacob owns it. You own Jesse's section, right?
Yeah, but that'd be where the number 2 goes down. That's right where my camper is. Number 2, I
Well,
think.
well,
I'm assuming.
You're pointing in the middle.
Yeah.
Okay. Where the orange is where Johnstone.
Okay, let me,
That's not.
let me put another map up.
Regardless, 1 and 3 are really what we wanna have on.
Correct. And if you're gonna do that, I say right now, if you wanna do that, I would suggest that you put this back as one road.
That's what?
As one road.
Oh.
Don't put them back separate.
Just for your information, that number 1 that's drawn on there, that's not the trail that you're using.
Where's
You're
that?
using part of it.
I know.
It's part of it. But where that turns, it comes out right opposite of where my road to my woodshed is.
Okay, got it.
And so, that part's all full of
Right.
trees and stuff. I mean, it's all the way to the rocks and everything there, but that's not where your snowmobile trail goes there.
Is the rest of the road that we do use thrown up road, or is that even town road? County state forest that comes out?
Can you put that map back up, Bill?
Yeah. I'm gonna try to get the other map, but
Well, the one you had would work.
Also, Al, that one, the number 2 road, that's not the one that goes through Neil's property?
No, number 2 is.
Yes.
Yeah. That's what I thought.
So, this road right here, their property corner is right there in the road. And then the laid up stone wall is just off from theirs, right through here. It's common boundary, comes out right here. But I don't know what classification where this turns and your snowmobile trail goes straight and wraps around the end of that hemlock knob there. I don't know what that little piece is that ties in to where the trail goes down to W.C. Putnam.
So where's Sue Haddon's driveway on that map?
she's off
She
and the board is-
disappeared.
Well, I know where she is, but I'm saying where it is on the map.
It's right there.
Oh, it's way down there.
Let me see if I have that.
I was thinking of the road.
That,
Yeah, it's not.
That's much better, Bill.
Because it's so open now.
you get an idea where the,
Yeah, it's just a landmark.
So Johnstone Mosier now owns that piece that says Cody on it.
That's correct, yeah. And Logan is what you own?
No, I actually, the O'Brien, I think Logan was her brother, or is her brother, he owns that other piece. I own both sides of the road down through there for a ways.
So that map doesn't show that road.
No, that doesn't,
Well, I'm just looking at that property line, which is following something, but who knows what it's following.
Yeah, that kind of looks like the shape of the road.
Yeah, it does matter.
yeah, but it's off to the right a little bit. There's the top part of it, probably 75 yards is where the boundary is on the other side of the road. And you get down towards Hall Ranch Road, it starts getting real close there.
So this doesn't show the road that comes down to Woods Road by
No, this is just a
Not on this one, it did on the other one.
Right. So someone said that was a Vastra, that didn't really show that one. That road was a Vastra.
Not to go back to the back, Bill, this one really doesn't do it.
Okay.
Is it a bathroom?
No, earlier, someone mentioned it, the Vastra, it was a Vastra. I didn't.
It is on the map.
Okay, I didn't realize it, if it was or not.
If it was a vast trail, you have to get the permission or something to go on the front, so is there permission granted for those trails?
Don't have to be,
From who?
town road. Don't need permission for town road.
No, I just wondered if it went across somebody's property or something.
I'm sure it does. That road that goes straight down was okay rounds is winter road. Keep fitting the town to use it in the winter.
The number 3 road?
The one going straight down the hall.
Oh, number 2.
He did that because the hill would get screwed up going down around the Ellsworth with drifts and so on, so it was easier to go that way. It was shorter for him anyway. And back then, Hall Ranch went through.
Through the, what, 35?
Yeah.
Out on the corner.
Yeah.
And that curve that heads toward L's, that actually comes off the trail a little bit before it gets to where you can see the houses. It goes down, now there's softwood grove there, but it used to go through that. But it follows that same shape. As far as the piece that goes straight up to the Putnam State Forest Road, that, we did find descriptions, but it didn't go that far. But there's no way in the world that anybody go around there, go down to Hall Ranch and then climb that hill and get back up to where they were 100 yards from. So it was a town road, and that supposedly is part of the stage road. To get the stage from Rockingham to Stage Road now that we have.
Well, didn't one of them say it went from Athens to Rockingham or
It
something?
does say that, but it's
Yeah,
fouled
that's
up.
not, yeah, okay. That made no sense.
No, you can't make anything fit that way.
Right, okay.
The direction's wrong, everything's wrong. But the village, when that road was laid out, like, nobody, the town was 30 years old. No one knows how many roads are actually laid out.
Oh, I'm sure.
So that was their main way to get through. And the village at that time was up Middletown, so they were heading right to it.
This is that, the road that, starting at, that goes off Otis, that's the green, the short section. This is what the description, I have more copies of this, anybody want to see it. This is what the description is like, and it's just the yellow that is this segment, and then it goes on to the next page for a whole bunch more distances and lengths. And that's why it goes, like I said, it goes all the way down, comes back up and ends up on Fisher Hill.
So is there any reason why we should not do this?
Never heard anybody say so.
I think the other question too, if you decide to do it, what do you wanna call it? Is it gonna be a trail, /4?
Or let, I think,
No, I was saying, John Hilbert wanted to be here. Turned out his wife broke her leg yesterday skiing. He was planning to be here, but she had to have surgery on her leg or whatever. So he was hoping to attend this meeting, and unfortunately can't. So I don't know if there would be, if you just make this decision tonight, or if there's another, time with discussion with this or not, or.
We don't know what select board took these off. Somebody made a decision not to mess with them anymore.
Well, wasn't there something like, whether the road, something had to be done in like, by 2015?
That was one of the.
That was the ancient roads. These are not ancient roads. So it was ancient roads that had to be done by 2015 and put on the map.
But then the federal judge said that you found a description, you didn't find a road, it didn't exist.
Well, it did.
You found a road, didn't find a description, it didn't exist.
It didn't matter what he said, because this isn't an ancient road. An ancient road is a field that never had a road in it, but somehow somebody had filed a petition signed by the select board that, yeah, you can have a road there, but then no one ever did anything.
There's one down in the southwest corner of Grafton.
We don't care, because if that's an ancient road, we didn't do anything.
Went from the quarry to Jordan Hill Road, never got built.
Bill, did you say there was a gate? After you say the word gate.
I have, so you're gonna have to ask
Yeah, the
people
gate-
sitting here.
The gate is probably about here, it's after that big sweeping corner.
Who put that in, Ellsworth? I think Josh Ellsworth put that in, thinking that because the road wasn't on the map, that you could do that. He was having some, activity up there that were, kind of making a mess of stuff and so on, so, as I said, without the road being on the map, I believe he thought he had the authority to do that.
We've got a cable right off Otis Road too.
There's 3 gates, I think, and, well, there's one where the original town road went up through where his little cabin is. And then there's one at the end of the, right by Otis Road, and there's a metal one, I think he put up
A little
higher.
further on.
Yeah.
That's the one I'm talking about, the metal gate.
Right, that's where it goes, once you get past his camp and whatnot.
Correct.
I think Kevin's right, I don't think Josh realized that it was still a town road, he didn't do it to be.
But you can have a gate if you don't lock it, correct?
If the select board says you can have a gate, and as long as you don't lock it, you can have a gate as long as you don't lock it. It's called a pent.
But that wasn't laid out as a pent road.
I'm saying what the law is. I don't,
Well, don't you have to change the classification?
you're gonna have to change classification anyway, because if you want to make these legal trails, which is what my recommendation, I think that's Danny's recommendation, to make them legal trails, because we don't want to screw with them. But a legal trail, just so everybody understands, is a 50-foot right of way. The center line of the trail is 50 feet wide. And it goes out 50 feet, 25 feet on either side of the center line of the trail. So they'll look like a road on the map, but they are. And that gives you the right to sometime later come in and reclassify. They are probably, because no one's ever done anything with them, either class 4 or class 3. So I would suggest you guys make a decision how you want them back on the map so we can at least have some qualification of what they are.
So if we classify that as a trail somewhere down the road, 20 years or whatever, somebody could go in and upgrade that road to class 3.
Well, the select board could actually upgrade it if they wanted to.
Well, but I'm just saying, but somebody could.
Yeah, they can bring it up to class 3 and you accept it, just like you did Ledge Road.
Yeah.
Is that the only thing you need to do to get that taken care of, is get it brought up to
What I
town
need-
standards?
No, what we're really doing here tonight is the 20th of February, the select board has to sign a certification of our map lengths, our road lengths, so a certified Grafton official map. On that map, I'm taking off Legal Trail 8, that was the Old Town Road, that's about 1.3, taking that off. And if I add this on, it would be something right at a mile. It would be 0.38 and 0.73, so a mile and 11, 1.11 miles.
But can you do it another, I mean, even if you miss this 20th deadline, you can still do it.
Next year.
Yeah.
You can do it next year.
Next year, yeah.
But the process takes until I have to argue with them, get them to agree with me, and that whole process takes until, they have until April to print them out.
So would we have time if Ellsworth, which one?
Is Josh up?
Josh, if Josh were to come in, do we have time to do that, or is that something?
We could, well, I don't know, you're gonna certify that this is what it is, and then I guess you can say, well, what happened to us a couple of years ago, is we added that, the cutoff, the famous cutoff, down below Bill's house. And they didn't accept it, so they simply took it off our certification. I guess we could go back to them and say, take it off.
Good.
And I don't understand that this discussion tonight is serving as a hearing for reclassification of these town roads to trails?
No, Eric, this is to put them back on the map.
Put it back on the map, and then you have to decide how you wanna put it, either class 3, class 4, or trail.
Should we actually have a 90-day notice and put them back, you know, in reclassification of it? I don't know. I don't know if we should or not. My intent was that we put it back on to, put it back on and say that we're putting it back on as legal trail. If someone complains about putting them back on as legal trails, at that point in time, that we could then take up the issue of whether or not we have to struggle with the classification. And the reason for that would be, for instance, if you took my road and made it illegal, or your, no, not your road, but Rooney's Road and made it a legal trail, and you're not gonna plow it anymore, you're not gonna take care of it anymore, you just called a meeting, you put it on other business one night and reclassified it, somebody would probably complain. But if they don't complain, I don't know that we have to do anything.
I'm uncomfortable with the idea that you can reclassify pending any people complaining. I think you have to
I think
have
that,
a formal hearing to do this.
I think really what we're doing is, because there's no documentation that the road was abandoned or thrown up, whatever term you wanna use,
Still.
because there's nothing to show that the town stopped, it should show on your map that it is a town road until you can document that it, so we're just really correcting an error in the mapping.
Correct. That is not, I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with the idea that you're going to say that we're intending to have it a legal trail. We're telling the folks at the V-Trans that it's a legal trail, and then we're not gonna do anything about that classification unless somebody complains. I'm saying, in order to make it a legal trail, you have to have the damn hearing.
Well, if you put it on the map, because it was supposed to be there, are you creating or just fixing an error in the map?
If you put it on the map as a class 4 road, no problem. But if you say it's a legal trail, that's changing classification, and I think we have to have a hearing to do that.
That's a separate issue.
Yeah, but we don't know what the classification of the road is.
all I can tell you is when I added the legal trails from last year, they're all on there as legal trails. Never was that issue brought up by V-Trans at all.
That layout doesn't say anything about trails or anything else, it's town road. And there's been no documentation on it doing anything with it. So if you approve this going on the map, it should be going on as a class road or road. And if you want to reclassify it later, then go through the process.
You know, if you put it on a class 4 road, we gotta maintain it. You guys have road and bridge standards that require you to maintain a class 4
The
road.
good news is there's no bridges there.
No, forget about that. Forget about that. That was the old one, right? Am I wrong?
You have to maintain any bridges, culverts, and any washes over a foot deep.
You guys approved it last year.
But Bill, isn't part of the argument that this is already a class 4 road and it just hasn't been on the map?
It's not my argument. My argument is it's a public right of way that's not on the map. And I want the public
class 4, do I get number 2 fixed to my camper? If it's a class 4, do I get number 2 fixed to my camper?
If they declare it, yeah, if they declare it class 4, he's gotta go out there with the Caterpillar and fix it, right?
No, that's not true.
No, that isn't quite right.
What is it? What do we have to do to class 4 roads? I'm being
We
serious.
have to maintain the culverts that are town culverts. If someone just put one in and there's no permit of it, then it's your culvert. That's how we dealt with it on Doug Road, on the class 4. Maintain the bridges, which we've done on the other end of, Hall Ranch already. And if there's a gully wash, over, I think it's a foot deep, you have to make it so it's passable, and not eroding, or continued erosion. But as far as bringing it up, for us to maintain it, no, that's up to the homeowner. If he wants to bring it up to a class 3 standard, that's on his dollar, and then it's up to the selectmen if they wanna approve to take it over.
It's not required.
We don't, the town does not bring it up to a class 3, because someone is on it.
Well, what if, for instance, just to go the other way, what if that was a trail and somebody said, oh, I want the trail to be a class 4? So is it up to them, that landowner, to at least bring it up to a class 4?
I would think so,
Which is at least clearing and
but I
certain
see
amount of
Eric's
width.
point, that this would have been a class 4 road, and you're changing the classification, if you call it a trail, that you have to have a public hearing.
Right.
But we don't know if it was ever a class 4 road, it's a public right of way.
Well,
It says it's
It
public
is a
road.
class 4.
Well, but it doesn't say that in the
It
description.
doesn't say it anywhere in town. There's no reclassification of road from 3 to 4. They just stopped maintaining it, it became a class 4.
correct.
But shouldn't Josh be here since it affects almost 3/4 of his land to
I
at
would
least
think so.
discuss it
And
and,
wait till next meeting and still be before the 20th.
yeah.
As long as he gets back before the 20th.
Next meeting's the 17th.
17th.
Yeah. So why don't we just postpone this thing to the next meeting and have Josh or his representative here, whoever it is, so he can make his argument or whatever. I mean, that's probably fair.
Representative here tonight?
Well,
Wow.
no, I could come anyway, but no, I get ahold of Josh, because, I am in touch with him, and let him know that that's the plan. And I think it's important for him to be here,
Right. And Kevin, if he can't be here, then he has to appoint somebody to be here and who could represent him with his argument for, against, or whatever. So,
Okay, okay. So you said that's the 17th?
yes.
Okay.
Do you have a sense of where Josh is going with this?
I think his feeling is that, as I said, he wouldn't have put any gate in if he didn't feel he was justified in doing that. And because of that road not being on the map, I believe he might have mentioned that he went in and maybe asked a question or looked at the map at the town hall, and being that it wasn't on that, he went ahead and put the gate in because he was having trouble with some four-wheelers, et cetera. So, I mean, he's not completely closed. I think he's wondering why is this happening now? Or why wasn't it on the map originally?
So, it should have been.
So, that's okay.
The other issue though is, we're putting a road back on the map.
I understand that.
You're not laying out a new road. You're
That is
putting
correct.
Roads back on the map. Okay, does the landowner, and I'm just raising the issue, does the landowner have the right to say no?
Probably not.
That's the issue.
I'd call down and talk to Megan or, the other one and ask them how that does work. What do you assume?
I ain't going down.
This is a different situation in town, but yet it's a similar situation. Most people know the GIA property, and most people know we've had some issues with access. The long-term solution GIA is looking at is to improve the piece of property so that they can go out Walker Road into Athens. But it's the same issues going to occur there once they do repairs of that road so that they can use it. If you can't block the use of it during mud season, people are gonna be up there ripping and tearing, and we could put $12,000 worth of work in there and have it torn up in an afternoon, and then the vehicles parked down at MKT covered with mud aren't that cool? And they just destroyed the road. So how do you protect that if you can't gate it? That's kind of where I'm going with that.
There's a way that you can, because if you read that segment or section on class 4, the selectmen have the right to say when and when not they can run a class 4 road.
It's like posting a road in the spring, you should be on that road.
You can
Okay, so it can be protected.
Yes, there is a part in there, it's been many years since I read that part, but the selectmen have the right to restrict class 4 road when it can be used.
I know.
I would assume being that wording, that you could say it can't be used from such a date to another date.
But maybe Josh will go, but maybe not be concerned if it could be shut down during certain times of the year.
Well, that's kind of what I'm thinking.
I know.
There's no soil on the
New
road.
Hampshire has a different,
Anyway.
I know over in New Hampshire, there's a couple of trails.
There's no soil to make one out there.
Town was a key, one is closed.
Not on walking roads.
Yeah.
Right.
But I'm thinking of repairing the road between the Yellow House and Fairbanks, that's the part.
Well, look, is it okay if we postpone this
Yes.
to the 17th?
Yes.
Okay. I don't think we need a motion, but I think we can just put it on the agenda for the 17th. So then, Kevin, you can touch base with Josh
I will.
and tell him that he has to, if he can't be there, he has to have a representative.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the select board will do whatever they do.
Yeah, I'll pass it on.
Okay? All right. Okay, so, now that we've done that. Commissions. You all have, the commissions for the school and for the wastewater. I'm assuming that, the school has, the wastewater has, they've filled in their names, and the years. But there's nothing filled in for the school bill, so what are we supposed to do with this?
The creation of a commission for the Grafton water wastewater
Right.
is a conversion from a committee to a commission.
Correct.
With an appointment of those years. I'll let Suzanne talk, she's the chair, let her talk about what she's done. I wrote the basic part, and then the committee itself, and Suzanne rewrote it, and she talked to them and filled in the dates of the length of terms. So at the end of the night, if you approve it, you should approve the wastewater commission with those general, with the general purposes, and then the appointments, they need to have the rules, procedure, conflict of interest, which they can do later, and then have their specific purposes for this commission, which is at the very bottom and on to the next page. So if you're going to adopt it, I would adopt it with all those, or at least, if you're not gonna adopt a purpose, a specific purpose to the wastewater and water, or a general purpose for any commission, then I would amend it before you do that, and then make the appointments of these, and I would ask that you make the appointments through 2021, so after town meeting next year. Just so that we have some continuity.
Suzanne, you want to speak on to this?
I think there are two key takeaways for the select board. One is that the reason we're asking to be named a commission rather than a committee is because our work will transcend at least one, if not two, town meetings. And while the select board has every right to dissolve a commission, it is more likely that with the stature of a commission, the select board would choose to allow the commission work to continue. So the main takeaway here, and the main reason we're asking for this change is to provide at least some opportunity or a higher probability of that continuity. And the second key takeaway, as you read there, is just reemphasize what we've said to the select board, and the select board has agreed as part of our purpose, is that we see ourselves in the role of providing information and education to our community about water management, and therefore we are likely not to take a stand on anything. We are likely to continue to provide information in educational forums or whatever form they may take over the next months, so that people in the town can make up their own minds about the kind of wastewater management system they like to have. And then I believe Bill has presented the terms in the document that you have. So those are staggered terms, again, I think in line with our consistency goal. And the other item that Bill also mentioned, I'll repeat, is that if you would agree to allow our committee to stay intact through the town meeting of 21, then the staggered terms begin. Did that make sense? Does that answer your thoughts and questions?
Would you consider a suggestion?
Yes.
To see the terms of the vice chair and the chair expire at the same time. I'd make a recommendation that you stagger those, so like perhaps Matt Ciano is 223, well maybe he went in 22 and then either the vice chair and the chair went in 24, something like that.
That's a very good suggestion. Yeah. So I think that happened, Bill, when we changed Paul, right?
Yeah, that happened when we changed Paul.
That happened when we changed Paul. So do you have that? And I take a look at it?
Susie, do you want mine?
No, that's an excellent suggestion.
So the suggestion is to put Matt Sienna was
Yeah.
2022 and Chris Wallace is 20.3.
Yeah. So definitely we want to leave Chris on the longest. So I'll exchange places with Matt.
I'll change with anybody, Suzanne.
Kim volunteered. Suzanne, Kim volunteered.
I'll switch with anybody.
How did you arrive, Suzanne, at these dates? And
So I
Is the
sent out
committee-
an email to all the members of the committee. And you may not like this process, Kathy, and you may say no. I sent out an email to all the members of the committee and I asked them to volunteer for terms. And I thought there would be a rush for everybody to sign up for a 3-year term. So I said, if that happens, or if I don't hear back, then I will pull names from a hat. And then later on, so I had originally taken the 1-year slot, and that's how it happened. And then I later on heard from Paul, and Paul said that he wanted to have the 1-year slot. So in respect of that, I called Bill today, because it was kind of a last-minute request, and put him in and took his place. And that's how we ended up with this situation that I agree with Al, is not ideal for both of us to have.
I just throw that out as
Yeah.
one possibility, but I think the take home is that the chair and vice chair don't expire.
No, I think you're absolutely right about that. So,
And
Ken, would you really seriously be
I don't think
okay?
you-
Yes.
I don't think she's.
So Kathy, are you all right with my process?
It's a good process.
I don't have to agree, but I can accept it.
Okay.
And did the committee, the folks that are on the committee, did they go through this whole document?
Yes, we would.
And you got input from them?
Yeah. That was on the agenda for our previous meeting. Okay, so then, Bill, I think what we're agreeing to do is to exchange Suzanne for Matt on to 2023, and Matt will come down
course, nothing to say at the end of a person's term that they just don't get another 3-year term if they are willing.
Yes, that's true, and it's also true out by the same token that committee or commission members, a commission member in this case, can resign at any time too.
Right.
So it's,
Yep.
so they're, yeah. Okay, so is that clear? So Paul is 2021, and Kim and Chris are 2023, and Matt and Suzanne are 2022. Is that good for everybody?
Works for me.
Make a motion that we accept the recommendation with the corrections made.
And it doesn't go into effect for 2021, is that correct?
No.
It'll go in effect,
What?
it'll go in effect, in this town meeting, in
Okay.
fiscal year 20, but our commission will stay completely as it is,
Okay, until
with
21.
no turnover,
So that has to be in the
until
motion.
the fiscal year 21 town meeting.
Okay. All right.
No, I don't understand what you're doing. You've got to create a commission. Are you creating a commission to begin March 5th
Yeah.
with these appointees?
Yeah.
That's what you're doing?
That's it.
March 3rd? Or why aren't you creating a commission that starts right now?
Yeah, right now. I'm assuming it's gonna start right now.
Okay.
It's
Just
not
so-
voted.
Just so, Bill, remember you and I talked about, and you mentioned earlier, just so we stay together until fiscal year 21.
Well, you create it
There's
now.
no turnover.
The first
until
term
fiscal year
is up.
21.
Paul's term is
The
up
town
March,
meeting,
that town meeting in the 2021. But you
Right.
create it now.
But if you create, because the select board creates it, it's not it
It's not
doesn't
voted.
get on the, it's not voted by the voters. So we can do it right now and be done with it.
Yeah, exactly.
just so we know that the anniversary date for these appointments is not February 3rd, 2021. The anniversary date for these appointments is town meeting, fiscal year 21, so that if we have something to present to the town at that time,
That's fine.
the
Yep.
commission will be intact as it is now,
Okay.
okay?
Now, these will also be select board appointments, right? The select board will make the
Yes.
appointments. You can present, and then the select board will just approve.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right.
It should be, because it's a commission of the
Right,
select.
of the
board.
select.
Yeah.
I didn't catch that.
The select board will appoint the, when a person is due, the
Yeah.
committee can make a recommendation
It'll
to the
be on
select
our,
board.
it'll be on your appointments for like.
Right, yes.
18th or so of March each year.
Right, yes. Okay,
Okay,
so, do
and
we have,
thank you very much.
do we have a second to Al's motion?
Yeah, I saw.
Any further discussion? So all in favor of Al's motion to create this commission now, and the anniversary date would be the 21st, right? Is that correct?
Yes, town meeting,
2021.
2021.
Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
You abstain? You have to. So it's four, one abstention. Okay. Now, Bill, the school, what do we want to do with the school? There's no names here.
I want you to appoint a commission. First of all, does Hardy have any comment on this?
I think, I had sort of talked with Jack Breyer that I would be interested in possibly participating.
that.
But I think Jack needs to get involved here and define with you people, what do you want the commission to do as a select board? What do you want us to provide you with for information?
Well, he should come to us with,
That's correct, I
he should
agree.
come to us with his ideas so that we can discuss it and then to decide whether we like it or we don't like it.
So what I'm saying is I don't think you can do anything.
No, I don't think we can either.
That's what I'm saying. Until there's more information forthcoming.
So that everybody understands, maybe you do, I just want to make sure everybody, Jack is concerned that if, in the event that we are successful with the lawsuit, that there could be a vacuum, and this committee could then kind of maybe fall into it. Or if we're not successful, then this, somehow they could be an advisor to the liaison between the town and the new, whatever, as I understand, that was what he
I
told
think so.
us. So, but I think he has to come and give us,
More definition.
yeah, Bill?
That's all well and good. If the town wants to have a commission that gives it, under the education code, some representation before the school board, whether or not Jack comes back with something, because I've been asking him for something for 2 months so far. And I know he's busy, but I don't get anything from him. I sent this to him just like it is. I then went back and rewrote the purpose because I didn't hear anything from him. If the town, and I'm not advocating for a commission, but apparently his attorney, Larry Slayson, has told him that if the town has a commission, they have some standing before the school board, before any school district, and they have to be recognized by the school district. By that I mean not, whatever, they have standing to talk in front of the school district for the whole town. So what I think the town has to decide, and I don't know who that is, whether or not you want this, whether or not Jack comes back or not.
Well, I think it's hard to make that decision until we understand what Jack wants. I mean,
What does the town, no, I'm saying, what does the town want?
I take the opposite approach to what you're saying, and I agree with Bill, is we as a select board can establish what we want. If Jack wants to come and negotiate or say, well,
Okay.
consider
That's-
this,
that's okay.
but we can be proactive and say, this is what we think is good for our constituents to represent them, until somebody asks us to change it, that'll be what we have.
so then if that's the case, then what we should do is put this on the agenda for the 17th, and between now and then, work up what you want this commission to do, and then we can make that decision. Bill?
Think of what we want it to do.
Well, what you want the commission to be,
I think it's all right here.
and do we need it?
I think we can
Work it out of here.
do what's here, and then just leave it up to the current school board to, and Jack, to come up with, or people volunteer to fill in the names.
Yes, Bill?
I agree to put it off till the 17th. Meanwhile, I'll find out what that education code section is and what it says.
Is that okay?
That's fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we'll put this on for the 17th. Bill will do some more research. In the meantime, maybe, individually, if you want to talk to Bill, if you have some ideas, let him know. And then he can have a new document for us to do on the 17th.
And if we could get Jack here.
Right.
I'll tell Jim.
Yeah.
We should also extend the invitation to the folks that are currently on the school board. It's, or at least make them aware of this. I don't know how much of this Jack has shared.
Jack and Jess.
Jack and Jess.
Just what,
Okay.
Are they the two Grafton?
Well,
I'll make sure Jess knows.
There's two school board members,
Jack and
Jack and Jessica.
Right.
Those are the two school board members.
okay, so, yeah, all right, so the others have gone, right.
Well,
Because
there's-
there is
they're
a
still there.
budget meeting this Thursday at the school. I'm planning to attend and I'll try to talk to Jack.
Okay.
thank you.
Okay.
Maybe,
Okay, can we move on from that? Apparently, we need to request town plan approval with WRC as a letter.
I can address it.
Okay, can you go?
When you have a town plan, if you want to get the benefits of a town plan, like be able to get municipal planning grant, it has to be approved by the Wyndham Commission, and your planning process has to be approved. That's one hearing. that letter has already gone to them. The second hearing, hopefully that same night, would be, and they would probably happen on a select board meeting night, but at 5 and 5:30. The second meeting would be for the energy class, that we comply with all the energy requirements so that our town plan can have preferred status before the PUC on any energy project. So I've already sent that letter and requested the hearings from them, because the code says that, doesn't say you guys have to ask, so I asked. And there is a huge form that is very scary, but it is a shortcuts in it, and Marion Major is gonna help me through it. But there's pages you can skip by just saying yes, that it is kinda like the Wyndham plan, and then another yes if it's kinda like something else. And then you go to the energy thing, and so it might be a lot easier. Otherwise, you gotta specify where everything is. And though the form I did in September pretty much goes through every paragraph of the thing and says where you'll find it, I apparently don't have to do that. So that's what I'm hoping to be able to finish that. But you can't have the hearing until that's done. And I didn't read her email, but Joe, you said you did?
She requested to have a meeting sometime in February or in March, I forget the date in March, with one of our select board meetings. And I asked Bill about that. He didn't.
If I can finish the form in time, we could have it.
I suggest.
No, we don't wanna have it, let's do it in March. We don't wanna do
I
it,
suggest we put it into March, because we got all this kind of stuff coming up.
way too much.
But I don't know whether, I don't know whether we can make the deadline or not, but we could put it on our March meeting, if it's okay with everybody.
I probably got the email, I just was busy, didn't.
No, it was an email.
No, I probably got the email, but I didn't see it.
But
And
they were requesting 2 dates, a date in February, a date in March. And I said, Bill, let's do it in March if you can. That's my comment, but it's up to the board.
So that's what this is for.
So is that okay with everybody, that Bill will continue to form, and we'll set up the dates when we're ready, and sometime in March?
If you guys don't have to do anything, except if you want, show up.
Yeah.
You're gonna have the meeting afterwards, it's their meeting to go over it in front of the town and ask questions of the planning commission or the people in the town or you guys.
WRC?
Well, I don't know how they do it anymore, Eric probably knows, it's a 3-person committee?
At least, and one staff person usually comes from the WRC, and they hold it preferably in the town that is requesting the approval. Sometimes they'll hold it in their own offices down there.
He said, they said they would come here.
Yeah, the MLI said they would come to our, they'd do it on a night of our select board meeting.
Yeah, that's what they did before.
They also said it's about 15 or 20 people, so,
Probably have to have it at the school.
no.
No?
We don't have to have it, we can have it at the school, but this is not a fight over the town plan.
No, I know, that's
Okay, this is for them to come say, that's all it's for. And we can have it at the school if you want, but you're gonna be sitting there with 3 chairs.
Yeah, I understand.
But you can do it.
It's an opportunity for 3 of your peer planning commission members from similar towns, but not adjacent towns, to look at your town plan, give it a critique, and hold those recommendations out to you at a town hearing, preferably in your town. There's nothing binding about their critique. It's just informational, and they take information back from the town at the same time.
But if they make a recommendation,
Then they as a committee have to make a recommendation
and
to
then
the
what
larger
happens?
commission to accept the Grafton town plan as written and the town's planning process as was done. And we've got the special wrinkle for the energy plan on top of that.
But what happens if their recommendations, they want to see something corrected, no? How do you correct it?
Very rarely, I've seen that happen once.
Okay.
It's,
From
the
Al.
recommendations are not binding on us. They're informational and are for the purpose of informing further changes to the town plan in its next edition.
All right, so why don't we wait and see what happens, and we'll figure what date they can, and we'll put it on the agenda for sometime in March or maybe even April, depending on what happens. The next item, I have a suggestion, and I know in the past, what we have done is we've taken the select board and we've given each one a task. Somebody does the warrant, somebody does the selectmen budget, somebody does something else. Because there's a contested elections this year, there's some rumors out there that our budget went up 12%, and there's gonna be some discussion and questions of us about our budget. I felt maybe it would be worth us having a open meeting where we could all get together with Kim and we could go over the budget line by line so that we're all up to speed, rather than sitting up there at the pre-town meeting and looking, we don't have the answer, or it's a false answer. So if you want to do that, it's fine with me. Let's pick a date and when it comes available. And
We just do it sometime during the day.
yeah, during the day, I'm looking at, and then, we can, everybody will be on the same page, so that, and then we can decide how we want to handle the pre-town meeting. So, I don't know, do you want to?
It'd be a warning, or it would be a warned meeting.
If you want to meet, anybody can come, but, we can do it up at the town hall, we can do it here if you want.
What usually works the best is to go through and identify all the changes
Exactly.
where you've increased it,
Yep.
and go right there.
Yep.
I mean, you go there and say, this is an increase and this is why.
Yeah, this is an informational thing.
But you're proactive, you're not trying to hide anything.
No, no, no.
You're looking at it and say, there's a change here, increase, this is the reason for the increase. And usually once they hear the explanation, they say, yeah, that makes sense.
And we as a board, we all approve the budget,
Right.
so, we have an opportunity to explain to the residents why we did what we did.
Right.
So, how do you want to give some dates to Bill? Or,
How about we're all here right
Well,
now,
fine
why
with
don't we
me.
just pick a date? So it has to be a day other than a Wednesday, right?
yes,
How about the 18th of February? Tuesday.
No, that's tax day. It's normally
Let's
it's
not
Saturday
do
the
it.
15th,
How about
but I've
the-
extended.
How about the 11th?
That's better for me.
What is that, what's that date?
I can't do it the 11th.
The 11th would be like a week from tomorrow.
I can't do it the 11th, I have a meeting in Albany.
How about the 10th?
About the 13th.
13th of Wednesday.
13th is
That's okay
Thursday.
with me.
13th or Thursday.
13th is Thursday.
13th is Thursday.
I can't do the 13th, I have a fruit treat.
How about the 10th?
I can do the 10th, I can.
Monday the 10th?
Monday?
Monday.
Monday's
10th.
Does that work?
So we are today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what time of the day do you have to do this?
Like 9 o'clock. 9?
Fine with me,
Okay.
earlier the better, but,
9 works.
Where, town hall?
Town hall.
yeah, town hall. So February 10th at 9 a.m., right?
Yep.
Okay. works for me. And if there's a conflict, we'll let them know, we can always try another day.
Just think how many emails we just saved.
Exactly.
Oh, no, we still need emails.
No.
So what do you want me to get prepared? What are you looking for, like the last
Why?
2 years? No,
Oh,
because all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna print out reports.
Well, I think what Kim, what we need to do is go over the current budget, and then kind of look back and say, because questions are gonna come up, I think, about, well, the budget was up 20% or 10% or whatever, so we can go back a couple of years and see, last year was a 2% increase, this year is a 2.5%, whatever.
Okay, so you wanna see 19
Yeah, 2 years.
Yeah, 2
So
years.
19 that was
Yeah.
budgeted, then the actual, and then the 20 that were.
Right, yeah.
And
And
20
then-
that were in and
right.
21 that were
Right,
proposed.
and if it went up 6% or whatever the percentage is, we can tell them why it went up. You know, I mean,
Okay.
And it'd be helpful to have the actual, not just the total, but the line
Yeah,
items
right,
that would
yeah.
show where the increases are.
Right, just like the budget papers I gave
Right,
you,
right.
except this time it's gonna have 21 in there.
right, we don't need a worksheet or anything, we just need the
Yeah.
numbers.
What she's saying is, the budget, when you worked on the budget, you had 3 columns and a blank, and you filled in the blank.
Right.
This will have all 4
Right.
columns filled in.
Yes,
Right.
Including, the blank will be filled in.
yes.
Is that enough?
Yeah.
Will the town report be back by then or not?
I know.
Yes.
Not by the 10th.
Okay.
Well,
I'm hoping, I haven't heard from them.
that brings up another point. Does it make sense that we wait until we have the town reports in our hand to do this meeting, make our notes in our town report?
It should be the same date.
Well, the budget's the same as what's in the town.
Well, I know, but I'm just thinking,
No,
no?
I don't think,
Just
you know,
insert it.
I was just gonna say, just.
If I have a grandkid, but I'm not there, so Warren's with them,
yeah, he's
I'm
got a
not there.
grand.
And I'm giving you the 10.
You look good for that.
yeah, the 10, okay. All right, next item is about the justice of the peace. Who's gonna take
Yes,
that one?
Yeah, I can,
You wanna, go ahead?
yeah, we had a resignation with that bank, leaving town. Typically, when there's a JP vacancy, anywhere in the state, it is filled by gubernatorial appointment. They typically will, appoint someone of the same party, as the vacancy. And was, put, ballot by the Town Democratic Committee. So, the Democrat Committee, provided a name. The state does require before we board a recommendation that there be a letter of interest on the part of that candidate, who's going to be nominated to fill that vacancy. So, David Woodall has come forward, volunteered, to do so. He's a member of the Town Democratic Committee, and, he has, written a letter of intent to fill the remainder of, the vacancy of, Ed Bank's term until the November election. And so that can be sent to Montpelier.
So we don't need to do anything, right?
Just
Do
be
you need a
aware.
motion from us?
Just be aware,
Do you need a
know,
motion or something?
I would just to have your blessings in the minutes that, yes, you're okay with it. And his email does say, I'm willing to complete the term of JP for Ed Bank, thanks David Little. And that will go accompany the letter that I have to Susan Young in Montpelier, who is administrative secretary to the governor.
So you wanna
So
make a
I'll
motion?
make a motion to the extent that they were all taking
Second.
place.
Second.
Chris, second, Al,
Go
second.
ahead, Chris.
Further discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, is that satisfied, Kim?
That's
Okay.
right.
And then the next item is Kim's 8A, which is mapping.
Is now,
More money for.
I was
Money
going
for
to be
wastewater.
talking
Yeah.
about the
Yep.
wastewater. As a committee, again, we had gotten together and we're trying to go back over and clean up files from the feasibility studies that were done by Otter Creek, and Taiwan. And we pulled out their maps and we're sorting through, but we want to be able to use some of these maps to update the data that's on them. And in order to do that, we don't want to ruin the original, so we'd like to make copies of, probably 4 maps that's already there. And by doing that, they're very large, so we would want to take them to like Staples. But I'm also asking for permission to be able to reimburse whomever is going to take these maps, so it's not coming out of their pocket. We do have a line item in our budget that we've had for many, many years since I came here that says sewage study, and it was used back when the feasibility study was done. And right now, we don't have a line item budgeted for it. But we did spend $134 when we sent out all of the information for our water testing. So we bought stamps and supplies. So that's in there. Of course, it'll be a negative, but didn't know if we could get your blessings for spending money to at least have a couple maps copied.
So it's something that Depot could do?
I don't know if you would take the copies or not, but it was that or Staples.
Because
I'm
you
going to go
would,
there.
could just do professional services or something like that.
Are they, paper copies you're just gonna get printed, or are they digital?
They're paper
Just-
copies,
just paper
24 by
copies.
36 large format.
Depot certainly has some equipment to do
Yeah.
that. Question.
Well,
Maybe they can do it for free, I
So,
don't even know.
so does Staples, and it's about $15 for something that size.
Each sheet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But maybe we should
You're
try
only talking
Check
six,
with
you're only
Depot.
talking $60, you said 4 maps.
Yeah, I know, but
Tops would be four
Or
maps.
maybe
Yeah.
Depot will do it cheaper or something, maybe. It's worth a shot.
Well,
if
I'm
not,
just
I
wondering
say
if
go
it's-
do it.
Yeah, we can check into the pricing
Yeah.
from both of the turnaround
Yeah,
time
I
too,
mean,
that's
that's-
another thing, because I know both of them are gone right now.
So are you looking for a motion?
Yes, so that we,
Make a motion to authorize Kim to,
You could
get the maps,
Yeah.
photocopies.
Second,
I'll second.
discussion, all in favor? Aye?
All right.
No? Opposed? Okay, but that's, oh, you're all set, nothing
Yep.
anymore? Okay,
Yep.
public comment, do we have any public comment? Okay. Bill, the town attorney discussion. You've got some letters and stuff, so I don't know where you are with it.
Well, I could, if you just had a short executive session, and you want to explain where we are right now. I didn't get the last letter, I got 2 letters, and I was hoping that
We
I
wanna-
would have the letter from the third one.
Should we wait to do the next meeting when we have all 3, rather than doing it again?
Maybe, but maybe,
I mean, there's no great rush here, I mean,
well, yeah, as long as Robin keeps answering her phone.
well, what would you like to do? You wanna go into exec and do the 2, or would you rather try?
I can just tell you where it stands, it'd take 3 minutes. I mean,
Let's-
I'm not,
okay.
have a long discussion.
Let's do executive
Okay.
session, get updated on what we got.
Okay, all right, so before we do that, do we have any other business? Yes, Alan, you always do.
I earned my $1,000.
Did you put your request in yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
Time's not up yet. The other day when we were, John and Danny and I met with the, and Bill met with the engineers, we were at the Howland Mill Bridge, and, we got talking about the trucks coming out onto the road and looking along the edge of the road. We've got some bushes, trees, shrubs, stuff along in there that are that have grown out into the road right away. Do we have a policy, or do we just send the crew down with a whacker and cut it? You know, how do we deal with,
I would send a letter to the landowner.
well, that's kind of where I'm going with it.
I would just send a letter stating what you're gonna do, and I'll go do it. We've done it before,
But it's within the right of way, right?
I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
That's a problem.
common courtesy, I would say, and then if they don't come in, if they have an objection, they can come in and be on the agenda or whatever, and then we can deal with it.
But it needs to be dealt with, and not just for the logging. It's, when the town trucks are going up through there, those bushes are whapping on the town truck mirrors. And that happens to every truck that goes through there, and sooner or later, somebody's gonna react to it, and they're gonna swerve to the other lane, and there's gonna be an
No,
accident.
I think we should send a letter out to this individual.
That's my first one.
Okay.
My second one, I told you Danny and I were gonna go to the municipality meeting on Emerald Ash Borer. Nobody else went, so we're gonna share with you what we learned there. Based on the devastation that has occurred in the Midwest where emerald ash started, and emerald ash borer kills all 3 ash that we have in Vermont: green ash, black ash, and white ash. We should expect 99% of our ash trees in town to die, based on what's happened in the upper Midwest. That's not a scare tactic, it's just, this is what happened, that's what I saw coming across Ohio, Pennsylvania, and New York, so it's reality. The thing that is interesting is they're finding when the trees die from this emerald ash borer, they get really brittle, and they're not safe to cut with for a person with a helmet and a chainsaw. So it increases the cost of cutting about 3 times. The other towns that have done surveys are finding in their town, only counting the trees that are in right of way, not counting the ones that are under power lines, because Green Mountain Power will be responsible for those. But counting trees 6 inches in diameter and larger, that would be our responsibility, the select boards. They're finding somewhere around 1,500 up to 3,700 trees that will require cutting. I think we ought to have some kind of a plan of how we're gonna deal with it. If nothing else, that we set some money aside in an account. I plan to go to the training session on the 8th in Rockingham. The Department of Forests and Parks is putting on the training, and they'll show how to, they have a program, they show how to do the inventory. And Suzanne and I have talked a little bit, we have some interest in the folks at the museum for some training, to see if we can get some volunteers to help do the inventory. If nothing else, we ought to have some identification of priority. You know, a dead ash tree on Hall Ranch, that could be an inconvenience when the power comes out, but that's an entirely different situation where you have 2 families or 3, depending on where on the road. That's an entirely different situation than dead ash trees in the village. And so we ought to set some priorities for, you know, the village, 121, 35, the valley, that sort of thing. And we should invest some time in this.
Where does the tree warden fit within
The
this?
tree warden, the tree warden in general, or the
In general.
tree warden in Grafton?
Well, in
The tree warden.
In general.
The tree warden has the authority to do, make the judgments of this tree goes, that tree stays, that sort of thing, settle disputes with the landowner. There is a law that is proposed right now to increase the jurisdiction or authority that tree warden has. And if you read the VLCT, they were a little, I don't know what I want to say, but I don't think VLCT showed appreciation to what, it was actually a law request that came from Forest and Parks. And Forest and Parks asked for more jurisdiction for the tree warden, because they realized this is gonna become a problem. And it's up to the individual towns to decide how they're gonna respond.
Well, I read that VLCT, and
They were a little critical.
their issue was that it was taking away the power of the selectmen, and so that where the selectmen are in charge of the roads and the right of ways, the tree warden could usurp the selectman to do what he wants to do without any authority. And that's where they were unhappy about.
We appoint, the select board appoints the tree
Yeah,
warden, so
but-
if you got a problem, you appoint a different tree warden.
No,
So-
it was, the legislation is you appoint him and he can do what he wants and you can't control him. That was their argument.
Well, anyways, we need to invest some time and energy into this.
Well, here's my point. We can't put any money in because the budget's already done. So the question is, if this is gonna be this if this problem is going to be this big, it's gonna affect every town in Vermont, not just Grafton, not just southern Vermont. The state is gonna have to help us somehow. I mean, there's gotta be some kind of money.
But you think the town doesn't have any money, therefore the state should help.
I didn't say
But the state doesn't have any money either just because this problem happened, so.
But the state had this, but I'm saying to you, is that, let's not rush into this thing. The ash borers are here and they're coming, but they're not here in the intensity that they are. So maybe this is something we have to deal with next year, you know, and when the select board sits down and does the budget, and maybe we need to get some of our legislatures so that some legislation can be introduced. And maybe there's some help from somebody. I mean, obviously, it's gonna be a statewide problem, it's not just a town problem.
It's in London there.
They did add that the federal government had already said if it is anything to do related to this ash removal, they will not fund it. They said right at the class over there that they will not provide any money for grants or anything already, if it has anything to do with it, because it's gonna be so widespread that they're not helping.
And Al, you meant, was it you that mentioned that towns have gone bankrupt dealing with this issue?
I didn't mention it, but,
I saw that
Green saw it someplace. I think it was
on
online.
my email that I sent her.
Oh, okay.
Chris
Yeah, that-
Campany talked about it.
Right. Yeah.
It's a lot cheaper to cut them down while they're structurally sound.
Yeah.
By the time you notice that they got this disease, it's already 3 to 5 years into it, so it's already too late.
Yeah.
It doesn't just show up instant, the law has been there 3 to 5 years once you actually see signs that it's dying.
Right.
Well, Alan, so I understand, and I think we need to plan for it. Well, how do you wanna handle this?
Well, I think we need to dedicate some time and get involved with it.
Okay, but I mean, do we need to do an inventory so we know what we're dealing with? I mean, I think maybe what you could do is put you and, I mean, get somebody, whoever you wanna work with, your museum or whatever, and get some kind of a plan that we can start doing something with. I mean, I know what an ash tree is, but I don't have any idea of how to go out and count them and whatever, and
Should go to the training session.
oh, yeah, okay.
Well,
Not right around the house, they come up.
that's what Saturday's session is about.
Oh, hang on, whoa, come on, let's. Wait a minute. Hold on. Hardy, Alan, go ahead.
Sorry. So on Saturday's training session, they're going to share with the people that are there. The program's already written. There's a couple different ways that you can collect the data. But the town of Guilford applied for a grant from Forest and Parks, and they purchased 2 tablets, and then they split their volunteers up into groups and they work as little teams to collect the data. They had 3,700 trees so far, 6 inches and over, and they're halfway through their survey. They have a little bit more rows than we do, but.
Well, maybe after you attend all these conferences and know what we can do, then maybe we should have a committee or put it on the agenda for March and figure out what we need to do with the town. I mean, it's not gonna go away.
Devastating, I mean, it's just like the elm and the chestnut all over again, and it's something that I think we need to be proactive about as much as we can, and educate people. I mean, the woods are really, really important to us as a community.
Well,
We don't even-
the woods are one thing, and that's up to the individual landowner, and that's not what I'm talking about. Well, yeah, but I'm just talking about road right-of-ways right now.
Yeah,
The-
yeah.
Which we're ready for firewood.
The
That's all I can do.
Pinnacle View Association is gonna meet with GIA to get permission. Pinnacle, they're proactive and they wanna do some hazard tree removal along the trail system, their hiking trail system.
Well, we have the same situation, I don't know how many ash trees we have in the village park,
Yeah.
but if we continue to renovate the park and put hiking trails and there are dead ash trees there, we need to be proactive as well, so that we don't have any accidents.
Well, we also have Grafton Ponds too.
Well, yeah, but that's the Linda,
Yeah.
that's private, so they have their own issue. And I don't know whether we have ash trees in the cemetery, that's another issue.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm saying, if you have an inventory, you find out what you have and where they are, and you can assign a priority. And there's gonna be a higher priority where people are, whether it's in the village, whether it's in the park, whether it's in the cemetery, that's gonna be different than out my road.
Right.
So can you say again, Al, the February 8th train, where it is and what time?
It's at Rockingham, Library, and it's, from 10:15 till 12:30.
It's on a Saturday, I think, isn't it?
That's correct.
And that's conducted by who again?
Department of Forests and Parks. They're, urban and community foresters, they're doing it.
Any other business?
I think I got it all done.
All right, so the next, before we go to executive session, the next scheduled meeting is on February 17th at 6 o'clock here. Okay. And now we need a motion to go into executive session.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thanks for coming. You're right.